It is a small part of a cell that has a specific function. And why does my writing disappear at that point? Why did it do that? Yeah, I don't know. Oh, there it is, back. Okay, a specific function. So yesterday I went through those various organelles, and some of you already have definitions for them from the textbook, and that's awesome. Then you don't have to do anything. But those of you who didn't get this filled out, when I'm done labeling this, I'll switch back to the PowerPoint, and I'll tell you what to put for each one of those definitions. Oh, you should have this up, because you're going to need to know how to label this. Did you do it the other day? Oh, you've already got it. All right, that's excellent. That's good. So I need your help at this point. What is this bottom piece here? What is that called? The bottom one. Bottom left. Who's got it out in front of them? Who's already got it labeled? So some of you, I'm hoping, are looking at your paper. Are you looking at yours, Josh? What does that say at the bottom there? It didn't save. So you're going to be filling in as we go. What do we got? Cilia. Cilia. Page 30 and 31. How do I spell cilia? And I'm being honest because I'm terrible at it. What the hell is going on here? Trying again. Cilia? Cilia? Like that? Cilia. We didn't talk about cilia yesterday, but some cells have little hair-like protrusions, and those hairs are very important. They can help the cell move a little bit by moving, but they can also move something else. They can cause things to move. I'll give you an example of cilia that do things that are useful. Let's say you got a little bit of a cold, like I do right now, and you get a little bit of some of that good stuff down in your throat. You know what I mean? That good phlegm, that good stuff that's down in your throat and your lungs, it doesn't stay down there because in the walls of your lungs and of your windpipe, those cells have little cilia, and those little cilia keep pushing, and they push the phlegm up out so you can, get rid of it, right? If you didn't have those cilia, that mucus would stay down in your lungs, and it would be bad. You'd get an infection down in your lungs, et cetera, et cetera. So cilia are important. Let's move up to the next one on the left-hand side. Who's got that? Yep. Cell membrane. Cell membrane. All right. And remember, the cell membrane, that's the outer surface. Remember from our little thing yesterday that I did quickly at the end? If this was a cell city, what would the membrane be? What would the membrane be? Nope, not the mayor's office. The outside, the city limits, the edge of the city. Excellent. How about this next one up here? What do we got? What do we got for that one? Somebody got that? You got it? Yep, Tyson. It's a mouthful. Cytoplasm. Is that the cytoplasm? Spelling it, cytoplasm. Cytoplasm. And that's that kind of jelly-like substance that simply contains all those other things, all the other parts, and it's a place where chemical reactions take place. So chemical reactions and various things will happen in the cytoplasm. It's really what makes up the bulk of the cell itself. Moving along, we'll keep going around the horn here. Top right. Top right. Somebody have that? Nolan, have you got it back there? What is it? No? So some of us are filling in. That's fine. Anybody else have it? Yeah, what do you got? Mitochondria. Just C-O-N? Oh, goodness. C-H-O-N. D-R-A? I-A? Ooh, I would have got that wrong for sure. Mitochondria. Does anybody remember what the mitochondria did? Yeah, what do you got? It is the power plant of the cell. In other words, it creates the molecules that are used for energy. So it creates the energy for the cell. Excellent. And the mitochondria has an interesting kind of shape on the middle. That's kind of how I identify it on a picture. It looks kind of like again, a sausage, but it's got like lines that kind of go into it like that. So it's got kind of these fingers that go into that central part. Okay, next. What is that one down on the right-hand side? What do we got? Justin, what are you looking at there? Didn't? Okay, that's fine. I just thought maybe you were giving answers, so I thought you maybe had them. But you've got the written part at the bottom, right? Excellent. Picture. Somebody have a, what do you got? That. Sound it out. Vacuole. Vacuole. Spell it out for me. V-A-C. Sorry. U-O-L-E. Vacuole. Vacuole. The vacuole are little openings in the cell, right? They're not openings. Sorry, I got to watch that. They're not like holes in the cell, but they're like air sacs or liquid sacs in the cell that store things like water, right? Water can be stored there. Food, starches could be stored there, all right? So they're kind of like little storage containers inside the cell, okay? And what do we have next? Go ahead there, Tyson. You seem to be the man with the stuff here. The nucleus. Nucleus, all right? And the nucleus is that kind of, that's the kind of like the mayor's office, City Hall, right? City Hall. It's where all of the information on what the cell is supposed to be doing is held. So it's the central important part of the cell. It has the information that is supposed to do it. And this last one is pointing at this squiggly thing inside the nucleus. What is it? It is a chromosome. You got to spell that one for me. Yep. R-O-O-M-O-S-O-M-E-S. Chromosomes. Chromosomes. All right? And the chromosomes are very important. The chromosomes contain the DNA. All right? Chromosomes carry the DNA. And that's the information on how that cell is supposed to behave. What's that cell doing? Is that cell going to be a skin cell, or is that cell going to be a muscle cell, or is it going to be a bone cell? The DNA guides that type of stuff. Everyone's DNA is slightly different, so therefore everyone's skin cells are slightly different. Everyone's muscle cells are slightly different. Okay, all right. Different in that the way they function or the way they look. On their basic structure, they're all the same. They're all muscle cells and all skin cells, but they'll have slightly different attributes to them. Okay, so now at this point, if you did not, right, if you did not fill in those, I'm giving you the deal of the century here today, in that I'm going to go back over these, and I want you to write down a little bit of information about all these things. So if you didn't write that down, I want you to add a little bit of information into here. So the cytoplasm, and you can write that whole thing down for this one. Write that whole thing down for this one. For the other ones, I'm gonna have it a little less. We're gonna kind of pick and choose. Nice technique. You can make that box bigger and wider, right? Okay, good. All organelles are suspended in a jelly-like liquid, and many chemical reactions of the cell take place here. Some people are typing them in using the text box. That works really well. You can type, and you can you can just type it in there instead of writing it down, and that works really well. That is a good option. Especially if you're just on a phone, right? You pick that text box, you can type away fairly quickly, actually. If your thing didn't save the other day, it means you probably didn't press that save button. You gotta be careful. It died on you? Yeah, then it wouldn't have saved. Okay. I'd like to move on, but Tyson's still typing. He changed gears. Where are you at, man? Okay, I'm gonna keep going. It is on the PowerPoint. So you could always go back and look at it when you study that way. Let's not write this whole thing about the cell membrane. Let's do some point forms on this one. Just put surrounds all cells. So just put surrounds all cells. Why am I not showing you actually on a PowerPoint is this question? Seems kind of silly, doesn't it? So let's put surrounds all cells, forms an outer barrier. Just put surrounds all cells and forms an outer barrier. Did you get that, Pat? Yeah. Excellent. Surrounds all cells and forms an outer barrier. We got it? The next thing put here, allows substances to pass through. Allows substances to pass through. And behind that, just put food, water, oxygen, waste. Yep. Well, then you should charge it more often, don't you think? There's the PowerPoint online. You'll just have to go and get the notes from the PowerPoint. Food, water, oxygen, and waste. That's what it allows through. That's enough information there. Surrounds the cell, forms a barrier, allows things through, food, water, oxygen, waste. Okay? Yep. You've got power right there beside you. Am I good to go on the next one? Again, don't write it all down. We're going to just do some short forms here. So the nucleus, I don't know whether the nucleus is next on your list. Is it not? So find the nucleus. You found the nucleus? Find the nucleus. So for this one, all I want you to do is write large sphere. Contains genetic information. After genetic information, put DNA. Right there, DNA. And chromosomes. There it is there, CHROMOSOMES. So it's a large sphere, contains the genetic information, it's the DNA and the chromosomes. And that's plenty of information for us. Okay? We don't care about what it is in the cell, Cindy. Hold on one second. Let's call the mitochondria the power plants to provide energy to the cell. They're the power plants that provide energy to the cell. And when we say plants, I don't mean like green growing plants. I mean like a power plant, like a nuclear power station. See what I mean? So they're the power plants. They provide energy to the cell. One last statement on this one. They use oxygen to break down food. They use oxygen to break down food. So one last statement on that. They use oxygen to break down food. When we take a big breath of oxygen, ultimately that's where that oxygen ends up going. It's got to get inside the cell, then the mitochondria uses it along with your food molecules, and that's where the energy is formed. To break down food. Okay?
I'm trying to type, but it won't let me. Okay.
All right. Vacuole, again, don't write everything down. They are a sac enclosed, which encloses a fluid. Yeah, let's go with it stores food and water. And can store waste. It stores food and water and can store waste. It is a sac, right? It's a sac inside that cell. You might want to say sac that stores food and water and removes waste. A waste vacuole will literally get filled with molecules that they don't want. It'll slowly work its way to the side, and then it'll literally get rid of that stuff. Out the side it goes. So it is a sac that stores food and water and removal of waste. How are we doing? Doing okay? Organelles found in plant cells. Now, if you slide down to your handout further down, I do have on that handout. Come on, if I can find it here. I do have on that handout, and I'm going to have to clear this because that's kind of a pain. You'll notice there that we've got the plant cell, right? So at this point, let's talk about that. And I'd like to clear my writing if I could, but this thing's going to choke. Clearing. So let's just take a look at this. The plant cell is like an animal cell in that it has similar organelles. The plant cell also has two organelles that the animal cell does not. These are the cell walls, and these are chloroplasts. Explain the function of the cell wall and the chloroplasts as well as labeling them on the diagram. Right now I'm going to label them on the diagram for you, then I'm going to go to my PowerPoint and we will define what those things are. The cell wall, all right, is the outer layer. There's an extra outer layer, so I'm just pointing to the outside line. I'm pointing to the outside line, all right? And that's the cell wall. It's thicker. The inside line is a cell membrane, just like in an animal cell. So it's like a plant cell has an extra wall on the outside. That's where all the fiber is found. You know, when they say, eat vegetables, it's good for you, it has lots of fiber. The fiber is found in the cell walls. So when you chew on a piece of celery or something, that hard stuff that you're chewing away is the cell wall itself. All right? The inner one, and I'm just going to do this to contrast, I'm now pointing at the inner line, the line on the inside. That's the cell membrane. Animal cells don't have a cell wall. We just have cell membranes. So when you eat a chunk of steak, you don't have the same fiber as in a piece of celery because there is no cell wall. That's why our skin bends and is more pliable than, say, like the bark of a tree, right? Because the bark has they have those cell walls that are strong and stiff, all right? Okay. The chloroplasts, they're green. In this picture, they're the little dots. So you could pick any one of these little dots that are kind of sitting there in a row, those little circles, and they're the chloroplasts. And I got to check the spelling, chloroplasts, all right, the chloroplasts. Now, this picture has the other ones. You see this big one in the middle, this big sac? What do you think that big one in the middle is called? We've already heard the name. What's the sac? What's that? You said it. Vacuole. The vacuole. All right? And look at this guy here, which looks like a sausage that has fingers kind of going in the middle. This guy right here. What's that one? Mitochondria. Right? There are other organelles that I haven't taught you about. I believe this one here is called the endoplasmic reticulum. What a great name. But we're not worried about that in this course. You see this funny one here that has a lot of the dots on them? That's called the Golgi apparatus. What a great name. Obviously named after some scientist that discovered it. We're not worried about those extra organelles. Okay, so let's now fill in what the cell wall is. So what am I going back to? I'm going back to PowerPoint, and I want to open up the slideshow, and I want to get down here, cell wall. So under cell wall on the sheet, it's a rigid outer wall outside the cell membrane. Rigid outer wall outside the cell membrane. All right? And I do want you to add provides structure and support. Rigid outer wall outside the cell membrane provides structure and support. That's why plants stand tall. Yep.
If you were to cook something like this big, can you create technically a cell wall for it if you were to burn it?
No, that's something completely different. When you start doing that, you're breaking the cells down, right? And then what you're doing there is you're removing any water from the cell, and then what you're left with is a carbon, like the carbon that went into that, to those molecules. So you've essentially, by putting that burn on it, you've essentially got rid of all of the water, and you're left with just carbon, almost like a burnt charcoal type thing. So no, you're not creating a wall in that way. You're destroying the cells, and you're obliterating them. You're just completely destroying them. Yeah. So did everybody get what I wanted there? Could you read back what you have? I can't help you with that. You'll have to get it off the PowerPoint. People, when you push that one that says to escape or whatever, it sometimes says, it'll sometimes say, do you want to save? Okay, I'm sorry. I have to keep going. All right. Don't worry about the large central vacuoles, but plants tend to have bigger vacuoles in the middle, and they fill with water. So when you've got lots of water in the plant, the vacuole is really big and strong, and then when it runs out of water, the vacuoles get small, and then the cells get kind of limp, and you'll notice when a plant runs out of water how it kind of just bends over a little bit. That's because it's lost all that water in that vacuole. Okay. And the chloroplasts, we're going to write a little bit down about the chloroplasts at this point. And carry out photosynthesis. So write down that it carries out photosynthesis. Again, if you're not getting this down on the page, this is all on the PowerPoint, which is on Google Classroom, which means when you study for this, you could read through this slide. That's fine. But I do like you to write it out. What you're writing there is like a summary. You could learn from that summary. That'd be a good way to do it too. One last thing, contains the green pigment chlorophyll. All right? And I do need you to write down the rest, and it's a lot. Which captures sunlight, don't worry about energy, which captures sunlight and uses it to turn carbon dioxide and water into food. And when you're done that, press the save. Press that little button on the right-hand side that saves it for you. Multiple times as you keep going.
Yeah.
Not a bad move. I guess I don't know whether when Google designed this, whether they thought that it would be something that you'd take a long time with, or something that you just write a little bit on. Okay, now I went longer through this than I had hoped to, and that's because well, the reason I'd hoped to do less was because I'd already talked about it yesterday. But we've got some people away, and we've got quite a few people that are going to go to the to the volleyball thing, which is fine. I'm not sure if I'm going to start the lab for those that stay. I might let you have an opportunity to finish up any other homework that needs to be done and turned in. I might start it to let you guys maybe get your pictures done, and then tomorrow when the others are getting their pictures, you can just do your write-up. We'll see. How many people have bought tickets? How many people have bought tickets? Nice and high. So how many people have not bought tickets and are sticking around? That's okay. Nice and high. High. Way up high in the air. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that a hand up? You're going? So there's only 4? All right, 4 or so. So then I probably, I'll figure it out from there. Okay, I've got one more slide here. You can see here, let me take a look at this slide here. So you'll notice here all kinds of different pictures. When I have a test, I'm going to be using the pictures that are on those handouts. So as we keep going and doing more and more pictures of things, and I teach you more about the parts of the cell and that, whenever I've got a handout like that we've filled in, that picture is the type of picture that's going to appear on a test. So those are the pictures that you're going to want to memorize them from. But it is kind of useful to know what the shapes really are so that you can figure out what they are. So let's take a look at this. So this again is my plant cell. This is the one that's like on your picture. So these little dots here are representing the chloroplasts. And you can see in this one, they've got the chloroplasts encompassed by a kind of a membrane thing. But again, you can see the green dots. Like I said, in this one, you can see that you've got those fingers kind of in there. And that is that mitochondria. And if we look at this one here, you can see the mitochondria. There's another one there. There's another one there. Again, they've kind of got those fingers holding together inside there. That's a mitochondria. So here you can see we've got all kinds of extra ones. The Golgi apparatus. Actually, I had it backwards. This one out here is the Golgi apparatus. And this in here is the endoplasmic reticulum. But don't worry about that stuff. So again, you can see the big central part is the nucleus. That's very important. And here we've got a big central piece that you might think this was the nucleus, but because it's just filled with nothing, which is essentially water or food or waste, that is the vacuole. And again, in plant cells, the vacuole is big, and the vacuole tends to be filled with water. So when a plant gets lots of water, let's say it rains, the plant absorbs that water and stores it in the vacuoles. And the vacuoles get full, like a balloon, right? And then if it doesn't rain for like a week, it uses that water, and then the vacuoles get empty. And you can imagine kind of like, you know how when you have a helium balloon and you want to keep it forever, and after 3 or 4 days, that helium balloon used to be like this, and now it's like, a sad helium balloon. Do you know what I'm talking about, Tyson? A sad helium balloon? All right. That's exactly what happens to the vacuole and the cells in the plant. So the vacuole uses up all that water, and instead of it being nice and tight and being up tall, the water has been used to keep the plant alive, but now the vacuole is like a sad helium balloon, and the poor plant starts to wilt and bend over. It doesn't completely flop over because the cell wall keeps it up, but it does kind of fall over and needs water again. Yes? That's a good question. I believe, and you are outside the realm of my biology ability, but I believe it is the thick skin of the cactus that protects it. Cacti normally have a thick outer container, so not a container, but you know what I mean. Like the skin is hard. It's hard. Yeah. So it doesn't let that liquid escape as easily. Where a delicate little flower that you plant in the spring, if you don't water it right away, the next day it's like, right? And that's because it doesn't have that thick outer skin. right? So I think it's the thick outer skin that prevents as much evaporation of the water out of there. Actually, it's called transpiration when the water leaves the leaves. Did you already just said leaves the leaves? Anyway, so yeah, I would think it would be the thick outer skin on that. Okay, I'm going to stop my recording here. Escape, and we're going to stop that recording. Oh, dropped my remote.